Jake Morrison stood at the front window of his spaceship. He was the captain of the New Frontier, a big ship used to explore new worlds. Below him was a planet covered in purple and green clouds. The planet looked scary and strange. Jake had been a space captain for 10 years. He had visited many worlds, but this one was different. The Galactic Council had sent 3 ships here before. None of them came back. All the people on those ships were gone. Dr. Lisa Harper walked up to Jake. She was the ship's scientist who studied alien life. She held a tablet in her hands with lots of numbers and pictures on it. "Jake, you need to see this," Lisa said. Her voice was quiet and worried. "The creatures on this planet are huge. They are 8 feet tall and have sharp claws. The Council says they are the most dangerous animals in the galaxy." Jake looked at the information on Lisa's tablet. The pictures showed dark shapes moving through forests. The creatures had thick skin that looked like armor. They had glowing eyes and big teeth. The reports said they hunted in groups and killed. Everything they found. Danny Kim sat at the communication desk. He was young and new to space travel. His hands shook as he read messages from the Galactic Council. "Captain," Danny said, "the Council is sending us new orders. They say we must stay in space. We cannot go down to the planet. They say it is too dangerous." Jake frowned. He had read all the old reports about this planet. Something did not feel right. The previous ships had landed and then stopped talking. To the Council. But the reports were unclear about what really happened. Alex Turner was Jake's second in command. He was a careful man who always followed rules. He walked over to Jake with a worried look on his face. "Sir, maybe we should listen." "To the Council," Alex said. 3 ships full of people are gone. That means at least 60 people are dead or missing. These creatures must be very dangerous. Jake looked out the window again. The planet spun slowly below them. He could see forests and mountains through the clouds. It looked like a normal world where animals and plants lived together. "Danny, show me the energy readings from the planet," Jake said. Danny pressed some buttons on his computer. Numbers and lines appeared on the main screen. Jake studied them carefully. He had seen many planets before, and he knew how to read these signs. "Look at this," Jake said, pointing to the screen. "These energy patterns are not random. They show intelligence. But look at the movement patterns. They do not look like hunting behavior." Lisa came closer to look at the screen. She was very good at understanding animal behavior. She had studied creatures on 20 different worlds. "You are right, Jake," she said. "These movement patterns look more like play behavior. When animals play, they move in circles and jump around. They chase each other but do not hurt each other." The bridge became quiet. Everyone was thinking about what this meant. If the creatures were playing, not hunting, then maybe they were not dangerous. Ryan Brooks was the ship's security chief. He was a big man with scars on his arms from fights with dangerous aliens. He did not trust easily. "Captain, even if they are playing, they are still 8 feet tall with claws," Ryan said. "They could kill a person by accident while playing. Maybe that is what happened to the other ships." Katie Wells was the ship's engineer. She was very smart and good at fixing things. She also knew a lot about different types of energy and signals. "Wait," Katie said, looking at her own computer. "I am seeing something strange. The planet is sending out signals. They are not random. They have a pattern like a language." Everyone looked at Katie's screen. There were waves of energy coming from the planet. They went up and down in a steady rhythm, like music or speech. "If they have a language, then they are trying to communicate," Jake said. Maybe the other ships did not understand what the creatures were trying to say. Danny received another message from the Council. His face went white as he read it. "Captain, the Council says if we do not follow their orders, they will send warships to make us leave. They say we have 12 hours to start flying back to Earth. Jake felt anger growing in his chest. The Council was always quick to use force. They were afraid of things they did not understand. But Jake had learned that most alien creatures were not evil. They were just different. Sir, what are we going to do? Alex asked. Jake looked at his crew. These people trusted him to make good decisions. They had followed him to many dangerous places. But this felt different. This felt like a choice between doing what was safe and doing what was right. Lisa, what do your studies tell you about these creatures? Jake asked. Lisa looked at her tablet again. She had been studying the old reports for weeks. Honestly, Jake, the reports are confusing. She said, they say the creatures attacked the ships. But the descriptions sound more like the creatures were trying to get close to the ships, not destroy them. Maybe they were curious about the humans. And the communication signals? Jake asked Katie. They are definitely trying to talk to someone. Katie said, the signals get stronger when ships are near the planet. I think they are trying to talk to us. Jake made his decision. He had been a space explorer for most of his life because he wanted to meet new forms of life. He had always believed that understanding was better than fear. We are going down to the planet, Jake announced. Sir, the Council orders. Alex started to say. The Council has been wrong before, Jake interrupted. They once said the blue people of Centauri were dangerous. Now they are our best friends in the galaxy. Sometimes you have to see things for yourself. Ryan shook his head. This is a big risk, Captain. If these creatures really are killers, we might not come back. Then we will be very careful, Jake said. But we will not let fear stop us from learning the truth. Prepare the shuttle. Lisa, Ryan, Katie, and I will go down to the surface. Alex, you stay here and keep the ship ready in case we need to leave quickly. The crew began to prepare for the mission. Everyone was nervous, but they trusted Jake. He had kept them safe on many dangerous worlds before as Jake got ready to visit the planet. He thought about the creatures below. Were they really killers, or were they just misunderstood? In a few hours, he would find out. But he had a feeling that this mission would change everything they thought they knew about the Deadliest. Predators in the galaxy. The shuttle flew down through the purple and green clouds. Jake sat in the pilot's seat, steering the small ship toward the planet's surface. His hands were steady, but his heart was beating fast. This could be the most important day of his life, or his last day alive. Lisa sat behind him, checking her equipment. She had sensors that could measure the air and detect dangerous chemicals. Everything looked normal so far. The air was safe to breathe, and the temperature was warm like a spring day on Earth. Ryan held his weapon ready. He did not want to hurt anyone, but his job was to protect the team. Katie looked out the window at the strange landscape below. There were tall crystal towers growing out of the ground like trees. They sparkled in the light from the planet's 2 suns. Landing area ahead, Jake announced. He found a flat space between the crystal formations. The shuttle touched down softly on the purple grass. For a moment, nobody moved. They all listened for sounds outside. The old reports said the creatures attacked ships as soon as they landed, but everything was quiet. Sensors show movement about 200 yards away, Lisa said, looking at her screen. Something big is coming this way. How big? Ryan asked, checking his weapon. Very big, Lisa answered. Maybe 8 feet tall, just like the report said. Jake put on his helmet and breathing mask. The others did the same. Even though the air was safe, they wanted to be careful. Jake opened the shuttle door and stepped outside. The planet was beautiful. The purple grass felt soft under his feet. The crystal towers made musical sounds when the wind blew through them. Strange flowers grew everywhere, glowing with soft light. It looked like a fairy tale world, not a place where dangerous killers lived. "Movement at 12 o'clock, Ryan said, pointing ahead. Through the mist between the crystal towers, something was coming toward them. It was big and dark, just like the reports described. Jake could see glowing amber eyes in the shadows. The creature stepped into the open area where they had landed. Jake's first thought was that it was indeed huge. It stood almost 8 feet tall and was covered in what looked like natural armor. Its skin was dark gray with purple spots. It had 4 legs like a dog, but much bigger and stronger. But something was wrong with the reports. The creature was not snarling or showing its teeth. Instead, it was making a low rumbling sound that seemed almost friendly. Its tail, which was long and thick, was moving back and forth. "Is it ... wagging its tail?" Katie asked in surprise. Jake watched the creature carefully. He had grown up with dogs on his family's farm. This creature was acting just like his old dog Max used to act when he came home from school. The creature came closer, but it was not stalking like a hunter. Instead, it bounded forward with happy, bouncing steps. When it was about 20 feet away, it did something that made Jake's mouth fall open. The creature dropped down so its front legs were on the ground and its back end was up in the air. Its tail wagged faster, and it made a sound that was clearly a playful whine. "It is trying to play," Lisa whispered. "That is impossible," Ryan said, but he lowered his weapon. "The report said these things are killers." Jake slowly took off his helmet. Ryan started to protest, but Jake held up his hand. "Hey there, big guy," Jake said in a soft, friendly voice. The creature's eyes got wide. It made a sound that was exactly like a happy bark. Then it ran in a circle and came back to the play position. "I cannot believe this," Lisa said, recording everything with her camera. "This creature is acting like a domestic dog." More sounds came from the forest around them. Other creatures were approaching. Jake counted at least 6 more of the giant beings moving through the crystal towers. "We should get back to the shuttle," Ryan said nervously, but Jake was not afraid anymore. The first creature had come even closer. It dropped something at Jake's feet and stepped back, wagging its tail. Jake looked down and saw a beautiful crystal formation carved into an intricate shape. "It brought me a gift," Jake said, picking up the crystal. It was warm and hummed with a pleasant vibration. The other creatures emerged from the forest. Some were smaller, clearly young ones. They played together, chasing each other around the crystal towers. The adult creatures watched them protectively, just like parent dogs watching their puppies. Lisa was taking measurements and notes as fast as she could. "Jake, these creatures are not predators at all. Look at their behavior. The adults are protecting the young ones. They are social animals that live in family groups." One of the smaller creatures, about the size of a regular earth dog, came up to Katie. It sniffed her equipment and made curious sounds. Katie slowly reached out her hand, and the creature let her pat its head. "The skin feels warm and soft under the armor parts," Katie reported, "and listen to this." The creature was making a sound like purring. It clearly enjoyed being petted. Jake sat down on the ground to make himself seem less threatening. The big creature he had first met came over and lay down next to him. It was so large that its head came up to Jake's shoulder, even when it was lying down. What happened to the other ships? Jake wondered out loud. Lisa had been thinking about the same thing. "I think I know," she said. "These creatures probably approached the other ships the same way they approached us. But the humans thought they were being attacked. So they started shooting," Ryan said, understanding. "And the creatures had to defend themselves," Jake finished. "The humans saw the self-defense as an attack, and everything went wrong from there." The creature next to Jake made a soft sound and gently nudged him with its huge head. Jake reached out and scratched behind what looked like ears. The creature's eyes closed with pleasure. More creatures had gathered around them. There were now about 15 of the beings in the clearing. They ranged in size from the small ones to giants even bigger than the first one Jake had met. But none of them showed any sign of aggression. Caddy made an amazing discovery. She was examining the crystal towers with her instruments. "These formations are not natural," she announced. "They were built. These creatures are not just intelligent animals. They are engineers and artists." Jake looked around at the crystal structures with new eyes. They were arranged in patterns that looked like a city. Some were tall and thin, others were wide and low. They all connected to each other with thin crystal bridges. This is their home, Jake realized. We landed in the middle of their city. The largest creature, which Jake was starting to think of as the leader, approached him. It was even bigger than the first one, probably 9 feet tall. But instead of being threatening, it moved slowly and carefully. It sat down in front of Jake and tilted its head to one side. "I think it wants to communicate," Lisa said. Jake looked into the creature's intelligent amber eyes. He could see curiosity there, and kindness, and something that looked like hope. "Hello," Jake said simply. The creature made a complex series of sounds. Some were musical, like singing. Others were more like barking or whining. But they were clearly organized, like language. "It is trying to talk to us," Katie said excitedly. Jake wished he could understand what the creature was saying. But even without words, he could feel that it was trying to welcome them. The creature stood up and walked a few steps away. Then it looked back at Jake and made an encouraging sound. It wanted him to follow. "Should we?" Lisa asked. Jake looked around at all the peaceful creatures. The young ones were still playing. The adults watched with gentle expressions. This was not a group of killers. This was a family. "Yes," Jake said, standing up. "I think they want to show us something." As they followed the large creature deeper into the crystal city, Jake realized that everything the galaxy believed about this species was wrong. They were not the deadliest predators in space. They were probably the friendliest creatures humans had ever met, but convincing the rest of the galaxy of that truth would be the real challenge. The large creature led Jake and his team deeper into the crystal city. As they walked, more of the beings came out to see them. Jake was amazed by what he saw. There were creatures of all sizes, from tiny ones no bigger than house cats to giants that were 12 feet tall. The creatures did not just live in the crystal structures. They had built them with care and skill. Some buildings had smooth, curved walls that caught the light beautifully. Others had sharp angles that created interesting shadows. Jake realized he was looking at art as much as architecture. "This is incredible," Katie whispered, taking pictures of everything. "These buildings show advanced understanding of engineering and design. These creatures are not primitive at all." Lisa was busy recording the behavior of the creatures around them. Everywhere she looked, she saw signs of intelligence and social organization. "Look at how they interact with each other," she said to Jake. "The adults are teaching the young ones. Some creatures are working together to build new crystal formations. Others are making music together." As if to prove her point, a group of medium-sized creatures began to sing. Their voices blended together in harmony, creating a beautiful sound that echoed through the crystal towers. The music was complex and emotional, clearly showing advanced intelligence. The large creature that was leading them stopped at what looked like the center of the city. There was a huge crystal formation here that was different from the others. It was perfectly clear and shaped like a giant dome. Inside the dome, Jake could see smaller crystals arranged in patterns. The creature made a series of sounds and gestured toward the dome with one of its front legs. Other creatures gathered around, all looking at the humans with curious but friendly expressions. "I think this is important to them," Jake said. Maybe it is like a town hall or a library. Katie pulled out her energy scanner and pointed it at the dome. The readings made her gasp. Jake, this structure is generating organized energy patterns. It is like a massive computer made of living crystal. The large creature seemed to understand that Katie was examining the dome. It made encouraging sounds and moved closer to the crystal structure. Then it did something amazing. The creature placed one of its front paws on the surface of the dome. Immediately, the crystals inside began to glow with different colors. Patterns of light moved through the structure, like thoughts moving through a brain. It is interfacing with their technology, Lisa said in wonder. This creature is operating some kind of crystal computer system. Images began to appear in the glowing crystals. Jake could see pictures of the planet from space, then closer views of the surface. The images showed the crystal cities from above, revealing that there were many more of them across the planet. They are showing us their world, Jake realized. The images changed to show the creatures themselves. Jake saw them building the crystal structures, working together in large groups. He saw them teaching their young, taking care of sick members of their community, and creating beautiful art. Then the images became sad. Jake saw the first human ship arriving at the planet. The creatures had been excited to meet the humans. They gathered in large groups and tried to approach the ship in a friendly way. But the images showed what happened next. The humans opened fire on the creatures. The beings had been confused and frightened. They tried to run away, but some of them fought back to protect their families. Oh no, Lisa whispered. They were trying to welcome the first expedition. But the humans thought they were being attacked. The images showed the same thing happening with the second and third human ships. Each time, the creatures approached with friendly intentions. Each time, the humans responded with violence. Jake felt sick to his stomach. 3 ships full of people had died because of a terrible misunderstanding. The creatures had been trying to make friends, but the humans had seen only monsters. The large creature made a sad sound and touched the dome again. The images changed to show individual creatures that had been hurt or killed in the fights with humans. These were clearly family members and friends of the creatures now surrounding Jake's team. They are showing us their grief, Lisa said, tears in her eyes. They lost loved ones too. Jake looked around at all the creatures watching him. He expected to see anger or hatred in their eyes. Instead, he saw sadness and hope. Even after everything that had happened, they were still trying to communicate with humans. Jake slowly approached the large creature. He was not sure what to do, but he felt he needed to do something. He gently placed his hand on the creature's head and looked into its amber eyes. "I am sorry," he said. "We did not understand. We were afraid, and we made a terrible mistake." The creature seemed to understand the emotion behind Jake's words, even if it could not understand the language. It made a soft, comforting sound and gently nuzzled Jake's hand. Another creature, one with intricate patterns on its armor-like skin, approached the dome. When it touched the crystal, new images appeared. These showed what looked like lessons or instructions. "I think they are trying to teach us their language," Katie said. The images showed creatures making different sounds, with symbols appearing next to each sound. It was like a dictionary made of light and music. Lisa pulled out her recording equipment. If we can learn some of their language, we might be able to really communicate with them. Over the next few hours, the creatures patiently taught the humans basic words in their language. Jake learned that the large creature's name was something that sounded like Korfik, which meant welcomer of friends. The species called themselves the Lyathi, which meant singers of the crystal song. Katie discovered that the crystal formations were not just buildings. They were living technology that could store information, generate energy, and even communicate across vast distances. The entire planet was connected by a network of crystal communications. That explains the energy readings we detected from space, Katie said. The entire planet is like one giant communication system. Ryan, who had been quiet for most of the time, finally spoke up. These creatures are more advanced than we are. Their technology is beyond anything humans have built. But they never used it as a weapon against us. Jake realized Ryan was right. The Lyathy could have easily destroyed the human ships with their crystal technology. Instead, they had tried to defend themselves with only their natural abilities. As the day went on, more Lyathy came to meet the humans. There were scientists who studied the crystals, artists who created beautiful sculptures, teachers who worked with the young ones, and many others with different roles in their society. Jake met a group of Lyathy who seemed to be leaders or elders. They were larger and older than the others, with more intricate patterns on their skin. Through the crystal dome communication system, they showed Jake images of other Lyathy cities across the planet. There were millions of Lyathy living in crystal cities all over the world. They had a complex civilization with art, science, philosophy, and technology. They had been trying to contact other species in the galaxy for centuries, but most species were afraid of them because of their size and appearance. They are lonely, Lisa realized. They have been trying to make friends with other species for a long time, but everyone runs away or tries to fight them. Korthik showed Jake more images through the crystal system. These pictures showed Lyathy, dreams of traveling to other worlds and meeting different kinds of life. They wanted to share their knowledge and learn from others. But every time they tried to make contact, the same thing happened. Other species saw only scary predators instead of friendly, intelligent beings. Jake made a decision that would change his life forever. He looked at Korthik and the other Lyathy elders and spoke through the crystal communication system. "We want to be your friends," he said, using the basic Lyathy words he had learned. "We want to help you meet other species in the galaxy. We want to show everyone that you are good people." The reaction was immediate. All the Lyathy in the area began to sing together. It was a song of joy and hope that made the crystal towers ring like bells. Some of the younger Lyathy jumped and played with excitement. Korthik touched the dome again, and Jake saw images of Lyathy and humans working together, traveling through space and sharing knowledge. It was a beautiful vision of friendship between two very different species. But Jake knew it would not be easy. The Galactic Council believed the Lyathy were dangerous killers. Convincing them otherwise would be one of the hardest things he had ever tried to do. As the two suns of the planet began to set, painting the crystal city in beautiful colors, Jake realized that this day had changed everything. He had come to this planet expecting to find monsters. Instead, he had found some of the most wonderful beings in the galaxy. Now he had to find a way to save them from the fear and misunderstanding of his own species. Jake stood in the communication room of his shuttle, looking at the angry face of Admiral Harrison Stone on the screen. The Admiral was the head of the Galactic Council's military forces. His gray hair was cut short, and his eyes were cold and hard. "Captain Morrison, you have disobeyed direct orders," the Admiral said, his voice full of anger. "You were told to stay away from the planet. Instead, you landed and put your crew in danger." "Admiral, please listen to me," Jake said, trying to stay calm. "These creatures are not dangerous. They are peaceful and intelligent. They have been trying to communicate with us. The evidence is clear, Captain. 3 ships with over 60 people have been destroyed by these monsters. We cannot risk any more lives." Jake felt frustrated. He had spent hours with the Lyathy, learning about their culture and technology. They were some of the most peaceful beings he had ever met. But the Admiral would not listen. "Sir, the previous expeditions were lost because of misunderstandings. The Lyathy were trying to be friendly, but the humans thought they were being attacked. Admiral Stone's face became even more angry. Are you telling me that 60 trained space explorers were all wrong? That they all made the same mistake? Yes, sir. That is exactly what I am telling you. Fear makes people see things that are not. There, behind the Admiral, Jake could see other council members shaking their heads. They did not believe him either. Captain Morrison, you are clearly not thinking straight. These creatures have done something to your mind. You will evacuate the planet immediately and return to Earth for medical examination. I will not abandon these people, Jake said firmly. People? The Admiral laughed coldly. They are animals. Captain, dangerous animals that need to be eliminated before they can hurt anyone else. Jake's heart sank. He could see that the Admiral had already made up his mind. Nothing Jake said would change it. Admiral, I am sending you video recordings of our interactions with the Lyathy. You can see for yourself that they are intelligent and peaceful. Recordings can be faked, Captain. We need to act on facts, not on your emotional reactions to alien creatures. The Admiral leaned forward on the screen. You have 6 hours to get your crew off that planet. After that, we are sending a battle fleet to destroy the threat. The decision has been made. You cannot do this, Jake said, his voice rising. These beings are innocent. They have families, children, a whole civilization. You would be committing genocide. We are protecting the galaxy from a dangerous species. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. The communication screen went dark. Jake stared at the blank screen, feeling sick. The most powerful military force in the galaxy was coming to destroy his new friends, and there was nothing he could do to stop them. Lisa came into the shuttle, her face pale. Jake, I heard the whole conversation. They are really going to attack? In 6 hours, Jake said quietly. Ryan entered behind Lisa, followed by Katie. They had all heard the Admiral's threat. What are we going to do? Katie asked. Jake looked at his crew. These people had followed him into danger many times. They trusted him to make good decisions. But this time, he was asking them to choose between following orders and doing what was right. We are going to protect the Lyathy, Jake said. Sir, that is treason, Ryan said, but his voice was not angry. He sounded sad. Maybe it is. But I cannot watch innocent people be killed because of fear and ignorance. Alex Turner's voice came over the communication system from the main ship. Captain, I am receiving long-range sensor readings. 12 Galactic Council warships are approaching our position. They will be here in 6 hours. Jake felt his heart racing. 12 warships carried enough firepower to destroy the entire planet. The Lyathy had no weapons that could stop them. Alex, prepare the new frontier for departure, Jake ordered. Sir? Alex sounded confused. We are going to position ourselves between the fleet and the planet. We are going to protect the Lyathy. There was silence on the communication system. Then Alex's voice came back, firm and determined. Understood, Captain. The crew stands with you. Jake felt a wave of emotion. His crew was willing to risk everything to protect innocent lives. Outside the shuttle, Korthik and several other Lyathy had gathered. They seemed to sense that something was wrong. Their usual playful behavior was replaced by worried looks and anxious sounds. Jake went outside to meet them. Using the basic Lyathy language he had learned, he tried to explain what was happening. Danger comes from the sky, he said, pointing upward. Bad humans with weapons. They want to hurt Lyathy. Korthik's eyes widened with understanding. He made a sound that was clearly a question. We will try to stop them, Jake promised. But they are very strong. Many ships with big weapons. The large Lyathy placed a gentle paw on Jake's shoulder. Through the crystal communication system, he showed Jake images of the approaching fleet. The Lyathy had been watching the ships with their planet-wide sensor network. You know they are coming, Jake realized. Korthik nodded and showed more images. The Liathi were not helpless. Their crystal technology was more advanced than anything humans had built. They could defend themselves if they chose to. But you do not want to fight, Jake said. Understanding Dot, the images showed what would happen if the Liathi used their full technology against the human fleet. The ships would be destroyed easily. But the Liathi did not want to hurt anyone, even people who were trying to hurt them. You are better than we are, Jake said sadly. Humans would fight back. But you still hope we can be friends. More Liathi gathered around them. Jake could see adults protecting their young ones, just like human parents would do. But instead of preparing for war, they were trying to communicate. An idea began to form in Jake's mind. The Liathi had planet-wide communication technology. They could send messages across the galaxy if they wanted to. Maybe there was a way to show the truth to the Galactic Council. Can you record messages and send them to other worlds? Jake asked Korthik. The large Liathi nodded and showed Jake images of the crystal communication network. It was incredibly powerful, capable of sending signals across vast distances. We need to show the galaxy who you really are, Jake said. Not through my words, but through your actions. Jake gathered his crew and explained his plan. They would help the Liathi create a message to send to every world in the galaxy. The message would show the truth about the Liathi civilization. Lisa worked with the Liathi scientists to document their technology and culture. Katie helped them prepare the technical aspects of the transmission. Ryan, despite his training as a soldier, played with the young Liathi to show that they were not dangerous. As they worked, Jake kept checking the time. The Council fleet was getting closer. In 3 hours, they would arrive and begin their attack. The Liathi worked with incredible speed and efficiency. They created a detailed recording of their civilization, showing their art, science, and philosophy. They included images of their families, their children learning and playing, their elders sharing wisdom. Most importantly, they showed the truth about what had happened to the previous human expeditions. Using their planet-wide sensor network, they had recorded everything. The recordings clearly showed the Liathi approaching the human ships in a friendly way, only to be attacked without warning. This will prove our innocence, Jake said, watching. The recordings but Korthik seemed sad. He showed Jake images of the approaching fleet, now only 2 hours away. You think it is too late, Jake realized. The Liathi had sent similar messages before to other species. Most of the time, the messages were ignored. Fear was stronger than facts. Jake made a decision that would change his life forever. He activated his ship's communication system and sent a message to the approaching fleet. Admiral Stone, this is Captain Morrison. I am placing myself and my ship between your fleet and the planet. If you want to attack these innocent people, you will have to go through me first. The response came quickly. Captain Morrison, you are committing treason. Stand down immediately, or we will fire on your ship. I will not stand down, Admiral. These people are not monsters. They are peaceful and intelligent. They have families and children. They do not deserve to die because of our fear. Jake looked at his crew. They were all scared, but they stood with him. They had chosen to do what was right instead of what was safe. Admiral, the Liathi are sending a message to the entire galaxy. You can see for yourself who they really are. Please, just watch the message before you attack. We will not be deceived by alien propaganda, Captain. You have 5 minutes to move your ship, or we will destroy it along with the planet. Jake felt his heart breaking. The Admiral would not listen to reason. In 5 minutes, the most advanced military fleet in the galaxy would begin destroying one of the most peaceful civilizations that had ever existed. But Jake would not give up. He had promised to protect the Liathi, and he would keep that promise even if it cost him his life. The Council fleet powered up their weapons, ready to destroy Jake's ship and the planet below. Jake closed his eyes and waited for the end. But then something amazing happened. The Liathi began to sing. It started with just a few voices, but quickly spread across the entire planet. Millions of Liathi joined the song, their voices blending together in perfect harmony. The crystal cities amplified the sound, sending it out into space where the human fleet could hear it. The song was beautiful, beyond words. It spoke of hope, love, and the desire for friendship. Even through the language barrier, everyone could understand its meaning. On the fleet ships, weapon systems began to malfunction. The Liathi's song created harmonic frequencies that interfered with the targeting computers. But they were not attacking the ships. They were simply making it impossible for the humans to hurt them. Admiral Stone's voice crackled over the communication system, filled with confusion. What is happening to our systems? They are showing you what real intelligence looks like. Jake replied, they could destroy your entire fleet right now, but they only want to protect themselves. They do not want to hurt anyone. The singing continued for several more minutes, then slowly faded away. When it stopped, the weapon systems on the Council ships came back online, but nobody fired. The silence stretched on. Finally, Admiral Stone spoke again, his voice much quieter than before. Captain Morrison, we are receiving the transmission. You mentioned we will review it before taking any action. Jake smiled as he watched Korthik and the other Liathi playing in the crystal gardens below. The Galactic Council had finally agreed to listen. 3 months later, Jake stood in the same Crystal City where he had first met the Liathi. But now he was no longer just a space captain. He was Earth's first ambassador to the Liathi homeworld. The planet had been declared a protected world, and the Liathi had become the newest members of the Galactic Council. Their advanced crystal technology and peaceful nature made them valuable. Allies to every species in the galaxy, Korthik had become Jake's closest friend and co-ambassador. Together, they worked to build bridges between humans and Liathi, showing the galaxy that friendship was possible between any two species willing. To look past their differences, Jake often thought about how a simple act of kindness had prevented a terrible tragedy. By treating a monster like a friend, he had saved an entire civilization and gained the strongest allies humanity had ever known. In a galaxy full of fear and misunderstanding, sometimes all it took was someone willing to see the good in others. Sometimes the most dangerous thing in the universe was not claws or teeth, but the fear that kept people from reaching out their hand in friendship.